Welcome to the 2023 USC Sol Price School of Public Policy Commencement Ceremony. I'm Julie Kim, Assistant Dean for Student Affairs, and I have the pleasure and honor to introduce you to our proud graduates as they enter the auditorium. Please rise and welcome the class of 2023. The venue. And our valedictorian is leading our dean down the right side of the center aisle. Kobe Urashami, Bachelor of Science in Real Estate Development graduate, is leading our vice dean for academic affairs down the left side of the center aisle. The faculty are now entering the venue. Dean Dana Goldman, and our commencement speaker, Mary Daly, President and CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, are leading the faculty down the right side of the center aisle. Vice Dean Juliet Musso is leading the faculty down the left side of the center aisle. The doctoral graduates are now entering the center aisle of the auditorium, led by Doctor of Philosophy in Public Policy and Management graduate Sushant Joshi and Doctor of Philosophy in Urban Planning and Development graduate Yogang Liu. Kevin Ryan Carney, a Doctor of Policy Planning and Development graduate, concludes the doctoral procession. The master's graduates are now entering the auditorium and are proceeding down the center aisle. Leading the procession are the Dollinger Master of Real Estate graduates. They're led by Melvin Hakimian, Vice President of External Relations and Industry Alumni Outreach of the Graduate Real Estate Association, and Grace Jung, Vice President of the Communication of the Graduate Real Estate Association and Dean's Certificate of Merit recipient. The Master of Urban Planning graduates follow, led by Christopher Joseph Chow and Leslie Rafael Rios Cruz, co-presidents of the Associated Students of Planning and Development. Now entering the auditorium are the Executive Master of Urban Planning graduates. They're led by Dean's Certificate of Merit recipient Chelsea Dunlow and Chriselle Palais, a graduate of our Executive Master of Urban Planning program. Continuing the procession are the Master of Health Administration graduates. They're led by Master of Health Administration graduates Lauren Bauer, President of the Student Health Council, and Kiran Agila, President of the Healthcare Case Competition Club. Of Health Administration graduates are up next, led by Dean's Certificate of Merit recipients Kurash, Arthur Philip Mashuri, and Allison Wilcox. the Master of Nonprofit Leadership and Management graduates, led by USC student ambassadors Chelsea Guevara and Nadia Tu Watts. Session are the Executive Master of Leadership graduates. They're led by Myra Bonilla and Christopher John Augustine Villafort, Dean's Certificate of Merit recipients. Master of Science in Public Policy Data Science graduates are now entering the auditorium, led by graduates Jajim Lua and Caroline Gao. The Master of Public Policy graduates are entering the auditorium. They're led by Elizabeth Solly Stanfield, Co-President of the Graduate Policy and Administration Community, and Matthew Vang, President of Mentorship for an Accessible Price and Finance. Matthew is also Chair of the Graduate Policy and Administration Community. The Master of International Public Policy and Management graduates are now entering the auditorium. They're led by Clark Hong Shang Shu, President of the IPAM Association, and Ajil Wibowo, Pi Alpha Alpha recipient. The Master of Public Administration graduates conclude the Master's procession, co-led by Veronica Frazier, Online MPA Representative Chair of Graduate Policy and Administration Community, and co-leader MJ Lopez, President and the Students of the Color Allies Policy Forum, President of the Rainbow Prize Society, and Graduate Student Government Senator. graduates are now entering the auditorium. The Bachelor of Science in Urban Studies and Planning graduates are led by Price Student Ambassadors Phoebe Andrea Cook and Celia Irene Escobar. Bachelor of Science in Public Policy graduates follow, led by Price Student Ambassadors Vanessa Nguyen and Rihanna Rios. Concluding the processional are the Bachelor of Science in Real Estate Development graduates led by Janelle Cabil and Benjamin Ian Schloss. Janelle and Benjamin are co-presidents of the Trojan Real Estate Association. Please be seated and help me welcome to the stage Dana Goldman, the USC Price School's Dean and the C. Irwin and Ione L. Piper Chair. Dean Dana Goldman.
So BS Red, can you hear me back there? BSPP, you there? All right, MPA? Congratulations to the USC Saul Price School of Public Policy class of 2023. Now, before I begin, I've been asked to give a university-mandated disclaimer. None of the remarks you hear today have been generated by ChatGPT. So, after all the late nights, long classroom hours, and caffeinated study sessions, you've finally made it to the academic apex, graduation. Today we celebrate your achievements alongside your family, friends, and mentors who assisted you along the way. The hallmark of the Price experience is to offer evidence-based solutions to improve people's well-being. You will be challenged to draw on this lesson as you embark on your careers. Whether you studied public policy, public administration, urban planning, health, or real estate, nice. You face the opportunity and the challenge to improve lives in communities around the world. And whatever career path you take, be it running for public office, working in government, joining a nonprofit, or making bank in the private sector, I encourage you to lead humbly and collaboratively. I mention humility for a particular reason. Some of you may have noticed on your iPhones yesterday that you're no longer getting COVID messages. The reason is President Biden officially ended the national COVID emergency yesterday, nearly 3 years after it was declared. In some ways, the COVID response was a great triumph, but it also left behind great devastation, and it demonstrated the challenges of deep political divisions and the limits of government. It's difficult to change human behavior. We can't compel everyone to act in ways to advance the common good, let alone avoid self-harm. So while you've accomplished much already, there's clearly a great need for your insight, knowledge, and skill. I have no doubt you now have the tools you need to rise to the challenge, but the rest is up to you. And speaking of rising to the challenge, I would now like to recognize Price students who earned special recognition. These include the Stephen and Catherine Sample Renaissance Scholars, USC Global Scholars, USC Discovery Scholars, Dean's Certificate of Merit recipients, Dean's Senior Merit Award winners, and Fulbright Scholars. Would the recipients of these distinctions please stand and be recognized? It's nice to see so many of you. Like our students, our faculty also won prestigious awards, published hundreds of influential research papers, and testified before Congress. There are too many accomplishments to single out here, but let me note 2 of them. In February, Professor Genevieve Giuliano was named a USC Distinguished Professor. It's among the university's highest faculty honors and recognizes faculty who have brought special renown to the university. And last month, Elizabeth Currid Halkett won a Guggenheim Fellowship, one of the highest academic recognitions for someone who studies arts, culture, and the geography of class divides. Congratulations to both of them and all the other illustrious faculty who have made Price what it is today. Thank you. Our school also proudly hosts the USC Reserve Officer Training Corps programs. I want to give special recognition to the ROTC graduates and veterans in this graduating class. Thank you for your service. And finally, I would also like to thank our staff, especially those who work so hard to make this ceremony possible, for your continued service to our great school. So, thank you. They do a fantastic job. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our commencement speaker. The Federal Reserve makes some of the most important public decisions in our nation. Few institutions have a more profound influence on the U.S. economy and indeed global welfare. So it is a great honor to introduce Mary Daly, President and CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. As a member of the Federal Open Market Committee, she helps set U.S. monetary policy, and she is at the forefront of the Fed's mandate to encourage price stability and full employment. And as a president of a regional Federal Reserve Bank, she's obviously an expert in assessing economic data. But she is much more than a brilliant economist. President Daley actively promotes economic progress that works for all Americans. She advocates for what she calls 3D public service. It calls on public servants to be, in her words, fully human, vulnerable, compassionate, optimistic, and pragmatic. As I've noted already, our challenges today are complex. 3D public service holds that we can better solve them if we have the courage to exhibit our full selves, including our vulnerabilities and shortcomings, of which we all know I have many. So, I think that qualifies as great and humble wisdom for a commencement ceremony. Please welcome San Francisco Fed CEO and President, Mary Daly.
Hello, everyone. It is a great pleasure to be here. And Dean Goldman, I couldn't thank you more for the kind introduction. These are my favorite times, honestly, to come and see all the promise before us. So first things first, I would like all the graduates, and I mean this, only the graduates, to give yourselves a big round of applause. Come on, guys. You have earned this day. You have earned it. And it is really important today and in the coming days that you reflect on that and you recognize the accomplishment you've made. But of course, it's also important to acknowledge the family, friends, faculty, and everyone else who has helped in ways big and small make this day possible. So I will say on behalf of the graduates and myself, thank you to all the people who supported the graduates we see before us. So this day is especially important and meaningful for me because I also graduated from a public policy school, the Maxwell School at Syracuse University. And while the colors of our gowns are very different, I did wear red bottom shoes for you guys. We are bound, we are really bound by a shared commitment to mission-minded work and public service. Now, of course, when people hear public service, they often think about the President of the United States or the DMV. But we all know in this room that the label is far bigger than that. And in fact, it's not a label at all. It's a choice. Now, I first learned about this choice decades ago in Baldwin, Missouri. A high school guidance counselor made a phone call. She asked her friend Betsy to meet with a former student, a young teenager who had done well in school, read a lot, loved to learn. But the family finances and the family itself had fallen on hard times. And the teenager, needing to help out, had dropped out of school. She was working different part-time jobs, driving a donut truck, stocking shelves at Target, mowing lawns, whatever she could find. And her goal was to one day be a bus driver so she could have stable benefits, or good benefits, and a stable income. And Betsy agreed to meet her. And right away, she could see that the young woman had a plan. But Betsy also knew that for the plan to work, the young woman would need a GED. So she suggested it, and the girl took her advice. Then Betsy told her she would have even more opportunities if she went to college, at least for a little while. So the young woman applied, and she got in. But she couldn't afford the tuition. So Betsy wrote a check, and we still had checks back then, But she wrote a check to the bursar at the University of Missouri, St. Louis. And at that very moment, everything changed. A semester of college turned into a BA from the University of Missouri, Kansas City, and eventually into a PhD at Syracuse University in economics and public policy. Thank you. And that path led me here. That young woman, me. Thank you, you're so kind. I went from a teenager hoping to be a bus driver to president and CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. And the reason was Betsy. Now this is the important part. Betsy wasn't a public servant in the traditional sense. And she certainly didn't see herself that way. But that's exactly what she was. That's exactly who she was. And it was not because of a job or a title. It was because of her lens on the world, how she saw things. Betsy could see beyond what was right in front of her. In front of her was a teenage dropout struggling to make ends meet. Betsy saw a young woman full of promise who had simply fallen on hard times. And her seeing changed my life. And it is the reason I'm before you today. That, graduates, is service. But seeing a person right in front of you is one thing, an important thing, but one thing. Seeing millions whose names and faces you will never know is quite another. Every step you take up the career ladder puts you a little farther away from the people you serve. And that distance makes it easy to lose sight of what really matters. Now, it took a highly charged moment to bring this point home for me. And it was one of the most meaningful moments in my 30-plus year career. It came in 2009, in the wake of the global financial crisis. I was part of the San Francisco Fed research team, and we were briefing the bank's then president, Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary now, of course. So colleagues were describing the ongoing challenges in the labor market. Near double-digit unemployment, a lack of job growth, a dismal recovery in place, a dismal forecast. And Janet asked a simple question: what would the impact be? And the answer was almost immediate, reflexive. The labor market will eventually come back. But eventually was beside the point, and Janet instinctively reacted. She struck the table, I mean, it was a pound, with her fist, and she said, "These are people." Except there was a bleep before people. Now, in the Midwest, we would say friggin'. But let me just say that Janet Yellen is not from the Midwest. But both the expletive and the fist pounding, they were startling. And for a moment, everyone in the room fell silent. Janet had just laid bare the truth about our work. It was not simply theoretical. Behind our data, our models, our forecast, lived people, individuals who had lost jobs, homes, and sometimes hope. And we had missed it. So the moment passed, and we turned to the briefing. But I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I have never forgotten it. As a Reserve Bank president, I have tens of millions of constituents. And it's not enough to look at the data and think I know them. Real knowing comes from seeing the who behind the statistics and how our policy decisions affect their everyday lives. That is what Janet Yellen's pound of her fist really meant. It was a call for all of us to see. Now, this practice of seeing, done day after day, changes not just what we think, but also what we do. A vivid example of this came early in my research career. We were studying the impact of environmental programs. And one of the study sites was a village that had a tree planting program to prevent soil erosion and offer shade. And we had gone to check on it. And when we arrived at the village, the results of the program were painfully clear. Every single tree was dead. It was a sea of perfectly planted, completely lifeless sticks in the ground. And the program workers were devastated. But it was obvious what had happened. The trees hadn't gotten enough water, and they died. So we went to speak to the villagers, and we learned that it was a 2-mile walk to the well and back, a trip they made already multiple times a day to get water for cooking, drinking, and bathing. And when we heard that, we understood. Of course the trees had died. We had provided hard-to-care-for trees to people with limited access to water. It was a tragic but classic policy miss, providing a well-intentioned solution without ever speaking to the recipients and seeing what they need. And this is why seeing is so important. When we don't see things clearly, we don't do things well, no matter how good our intentions. And we end up with a sea of dead sticks. So I share these 3 stories with you as you embark on your adventures, because to me, and I think to all of us, they capture a powerful truth. When we see things clearly, we do things differently. We develop programs that give people what they actually need. We acknowledge and understand that real-life struggles that numbers don't show. And we write the check for a struggling teenager that changes the course of her life. So as you go out into the world, remember this: public service is not a job. It's a choice. It's a choice to see people clearly and to act on what you see. And if you make this choice, no matter where your career takes you, a courtroom, a classroom, a boardroom, or the Situation Room, you will be a public servant. Graduates, that is my call to you. Congratulations, class of 2023, and welcome to the fold. Thank you.
That was wonderful and so inspiring, and to come from such humble origins to have so much impact in people's lives. It's a wonderful story. Continuing in that vein, there's no question that this year's valedictorian, Kendall Damon, richly deserves the distinction. In her 4 years as a public policy major, she held internships with the U.S. Senate and the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. She also oversaw diversity initiatives at her sorority and volunteered for political and climate advocacy campaigns. She's on her way to earning a master's in environmental policy at the University of Cambridge. After that, she plans to pursue a career in government-focused climate policies. In other words, she's part of the new generation trying to save the planet from my generation. So please welcome Kendall Damon.
Wow. Hi, everyone. Hang in there, we're almost done. So, as a junior in high school, starting to contemplate college, I had no clue where I wanted to go or what I wanted to study. I was adamant that I would not follow my older brother, cousin, and father and attend the University of Southern California. I wanted to be exploratory, setting out on a unique, entirely different path from that of my family members. Then, I visited my brother and cousin for a week during their freshman year at USC. By the second day, I knew I wanted to be a Trojan. The beautiful weather and campus drew me in. But what solidified my decision was when my brother's friend, Nick, discovered my burgeoning passion for social justice and offered to take me to his class. I nervously agreed. Nick brought me up to the professor to ask permission. Professor LaVonna Lewis said yes, I could join class for the day, but only if I participated. Sitting in that class was the first time my 16-year-old self realized that I could follow my spark of passion for making a difference and perhaps even make a career out of it. So, over a year before I even got my acceptance letter, USC already began challenging my presumptions and helping me grow. I often say I love USC so much, not for a specific degree or club, but because you can find something of just about everything here for everyone. I laugh about my younger self who refused to follow my family's footsteps, because the thing is, everyone creates their own path at this school. As postgraduate life quickly approaches, a mentor of mine reminded me to follow my why, my so what. I know each of my fellow graduates came to Price to follow their own unique why. For me, I followed a gut feeling that I wanted to spend each day of my life trying to make the world a little bit better. I knew I would not be happy in a major and career that didn't help me achieve that goal, so I chose to study public policy. Each member of this graduating class followed their own why, whether it was to prepare for a career in real estate, to go to law school and affect policy, or to design livable communities. Despite our different motivations and aspirations, we were drawn by Price's mission to improve the quality of life for people in their communities here and abroad. In line with that mission, Price challenged us to think critically about planning practices and policies that have created and perpetuated injustices. Our classes pushed us not to shy away from these complicated problems, but rather to lean into the complexity and develop creative, nuanced solutions. And now we are equipped with the capability and conviction to go make our communities a little bit better. These years were the best of my life, but there were some days and even weeks that were really difficult. I had some days where I really missed home, despite never thinking I would. On those days, I surrounded myself with the irreplaceable family I formed here. Sometimes I had moments where the weight of the injustices we discussed in class felt insurmountable. On those days, I turned to the Price community for guidance, solace, and hope. Sometimes I had days when my multivariate statistics homework just seemed impossible. But on those days, I knew I could go to my Price classmates or Professor T.J. McCarthy, who would devote as much time as necessary to explain a concept to me. Looking back, I celebrate these hard days. Not only did we learn how to confront the next hard day a little bit better, we also learned to ask for help when we needed it. So I thank all of the Price professors, faculty, and staff who supported us along the way, and a special thank you to Professor Sloan, who supported me as I wrote this speech. Yeah, he's the best. Each of us came to USC and to Price with different communities. As we progressed through our 4 years, we leaned on new people, whether someone you met in your favorite student organization or a random dining hall encounter. Yet, we always came back to the Price community, voluntarily or through one of our countless group projects. Urban planning theory distinguishes a space in the physical sense with a place, a space with meaning attached to those who visit it. While this beautiful campus and institution are the space where we come together, the people are what make Price such a special place. When Professor Sloan's PPD 400 class pushed the limits of my comfort zone by requiring me to act in a play to tell the stories of formerly incarcerated individuals and survivors, I relied on the constant support of my classmates, Tessa, Grace, and Kavita. Although I can confidently say that the class was my first and final foray into theater, I developed a newfound understanding of the power of storytelling to reimagine policy and connect communities. And when the curtains closed, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment and gratitude. Our play will not transform the criminal justice system, but it is empowering to be a small piece in the greater trajectory of change. My time at Price working with peers and professors who refuse to be comfortable with the status quo fills me with hope for the additive impact each of our small efforts will have on the injustices we care about. For instance, I recently learned that I would be speaking in front of over 6,000 people today. After an initial moment of terror, I realized how much good all of us can do. In a few months, I will be pursuing a Master of Environmental Policy at the University of Cambridge in England, continuing to follow that spark that ignited 6 years ago in Professor Lewis's class to make a difference. We are each continuing to follow our why, however it has evolved during our time here. And we are using all of the tools that Price equipped us with to follow that why, to go out into the world and improve it in our own way, in whatever corner of the globe we head off to next. I feel we are all a little scared to be at the end of this journey, but I encourage you all to think back. Who were you when you first stepped on campus as a freshman? Whatever path we followed through our undergraduate years, I, like all of us, have learned to speak up despite discomfort and to connect with people who, at face value, have nothing in common with us. Our families and loved ones celebrating with us today can undoubtedly see how much we've grown. Wherever you're heading next, I want to remind all of the graduates, including myself and our proud but slightly anxious loved ones, that we are ready. So thank you to our family and friends for putting up with us and supporting us throughout this journey. And thank you to my brother and cousin, my role models, who are the reason I'm graduating from USC today. As the Hallmark cards we get today will tell us, today is the first day of the rest of our lives. So let's go get those diplomas. Thank you.
Thank you, Kendall. We're very glad that you chose us. Now is the time to recognize and celebrate each graduating student. We will now call up graduates individually for the presentation of the diplomas. Our graduates will receive ceremonial diploma covers, and actual diplomas will be mailed in 4 to 6 weeks. We will begin with the Doctor of Philosophy and Doctor of Policy Planning and Development candidates, who will be hooded by their dissertation chairs, then follow with diploma presentations to the master's candidates, and conclude with the undergraduate candidates. After you've received your diploma, please return to your seat and remain in your seat until the ceremony concludes. There are photographers present who will take pictures of the graduates during the diploma presentation. Information on ordering pictures will be sent to each graduate after the ceremony. Please do not crowd the aisles or the area in front of the stage to take pictures of your graduate. Dean Goldman, I now present to you the candidates for the Doctor of Philosophy in Public Policy and Management and Doctor of Philosophy in Urban Planning and Development degrees. And Vice Dean for Academic Affairs, Juliet Musso, will join us on the stage.
Sushant Joshi, Doctor of Philosophy in Public Policy and Management, dissertation title, Topics in U.S. Healthcare, dissertation chair, Dr. Niraj Sood. Hillary Olson, Doctor of Philosophy in Public Policy and Management, dissertation title, Outcomes-Based Contracts, Ties to Social Innovation, Program Evaluation, and International Development, dissertation chair, Dr. Gary Painter. Yogang Liu, Doctor of Philosophy in Urban Planning and Development, dissertation title, Urban Air Pollution and Environmental Justice, 3 essays. Dissertation chair, Dr. Genevieve Giuliano. Marissa Tureski, Doctor of Philosophy in Urban Planning and Development, dissertation title, Locating Lesbian Lives, Housing, Neighborhoods, and Gathering Spaces Across the Lifespan, dissertation chair, Dr. Lisa Schweitzer. Gregory F. Randolph, Doctor of Philosophy in Urban Planning and Development, dissertation title, Urbanization Beyond the Metropolis, through papers on urbanization patterns and their planning implications in the contemporary Global South. Dissertation chair, Dr. Elizabeth Currid-Halkett. Sue Dexter, Doctor of Philosophy in Urban Planning and Development, dissertation title, Cradle to Grave Life Cycle Assessment and Operational Impact Analysis of Zero Emission Heavy Duty Trucks. Dissertation chair, Dr. Genevieve Giuliano. Arnab Dutta, Doctor of Philosophy in Urban Planning and Development, dissertation title, Essays on Internal Migration and Housing Markets of Urban India, dissertation chair, Dr. Richard Green. Juntang Zhou, Doctor of Philosophy in Urban Planning and Development, dissertation title, Health Impact Assessment, the Concept, Science, and Application in China. Dissertation chair, Dr. David Sloan.
Let's give a round of applause to the PhD graduates. Dean Goldman, I now present to you the candidates for the Doctor of Policy Planning and Development degree.
Megan Golding, Doctor of Policy Planning and Development, dissertation title, Philanthropic Foundations and Social Impact Bonds, Understanding Impact Investment Approaches Among Philanthropic Foundations. Dissertation chair, Dr. Gary Painter. Diana Emily Pereiro Dimanpadan, Doctor of Policy Planning and Development, dissertation title, Filipino-American Culture and Family Caregiving, Filial Support and Elderly Healthcare Urban Utilization Amidst a Pandemic. Dissertation chair, Dr. Lavana Lewis. Hillary Priebe Sotelo, Doctor of Policy Planning and Development, dissertation title, Human Trafficking Prevention Education and Public School District Leadership and Exploratory Study. Dissertation chair, Dr. Deborah Natoli. Tim Walsh, Doctor of Policy Planning and Development, dissertation title, Using Analytics to Evaluate the San Diego Housing Commission's Approach to Maximizing Housing Efficiency, Moving to Work, Path to Success, and the Achievement Academy. Dissertation chair, Dr. T.J. McCarthy. Kevin Ryan Carney, Doctor of Policy Planning and Development, dissertation title, Municipal Employee Reactions to City Council Incivility and Exploratory Data Analysis. Dissertation chair, Dr. Peter Robertson.
Let's give a round of applause to the Doctor of Policy Planning and Development graduates. Dean Goldman, I now present to you the candidates for the Dollinger Master of Real Estate Development degree. Professor and Chair of the Wilbur H. Smith III Department of Real Estate Development, Richard Green is joining Dean Goldman on the stage. Grace Jung.
Melvin Hakeem An.
Eric Henriksen.
Jacob Halloum.
Arya Haydaden.
Spencer Rich Lee.
Kyle Chen.
Felix Volk Roth.
Stephen Dutoy.
Danielle Chloe Heckmat.
Kiran Koneru.
Troy David Telton.
Justin Edward Rappel.
Steven Vasquez. Aileen Mora Diaz.
Lindsay M. Gibson.
Tori Kiss.
Tiana Rose Quinones.
Zachary Blumenfeld.
Andrew George Bukather.
Stella Choi. Michael Robert Jankowitz. Sean Myers. Zachary Kane. Sam Newmark. Joshua Gonzalez. David Michael Shabi.
Let's give a round of applause to the Dollinger Master of Real Estate Development graduates. Dean Goldman, I now present to you the candidates for the Master of Urban Planning degree. Professor and Chair of the Department of Urban Planning and Spatial Analysis, David Sloan, is joining Dean Goldman on the stage.
Leslie Rafaela Rios Cruz.
Christopher Joseph Chow.
Alexa Rose Abramanian.
Natalie Ikrata.
Marissa Leilani Montero.
Samantha Christine Ellman.
Andrew Stephen Farias.
Grace Francis Nelson.
Hiba Shana.
Vanessa Maribel Ramirez.
Christine Joanna Vasquez.
Christine Du.
Kevin Eduardo Argueta Flores.
John Bryant Pakleb Kudiz.
Ji-yoon Kim.
Myra Garcia.
Lena Doe.
Emily Michelle Ng.
Isis Serna.
Phoebe Andrea Cook.
Arnav Chatterjee.
Kishan Fishwak Rai.
Alan Katrina Reyes.
Andrea Holmes.
Tiana De La Paz.
Christopher Conrad Keating.
Ayush Patel.
Sophia D'Amelio.
Tyrus Lee.
Yi Loon Liu.
Kyle McKinney.
Ri Zhao Liu.
Moses Shea.
Boya Liu.
Daniel Martinez Yabrudi.
Chang Peng.
Hugo Fernando Munoz.
Nancy Jia Chi Liu.
Andrew Davidov.
JJ Jin.
Anina Fleury.
Thomas Wang.
Lindsay Victoria Squarewell.
Tian Yi Zhao.
David Earl Russell.
Rui Chen Shai.
Michelle Servin.
Nick Suarez Cardenas.
Victoria Clark.
Laura Correa.
Emily Catherine Varley.
Aubrey Stark Miller.
Hannah Michael Flynn.
Theodore Walker.
Becca Lubin.
Andy Mager.
Morgan Rose.
Nicholas St. Cook.
Daniel Oberly.
Danielle Copeland.
Lillian Lesser.
Eric Martinez.
Tracy Phoenix.
Catherine Rose Rondazzo.
Jordan Gonzalez.
Mercedes Stroeve.
Bridget Rodriguez.
Sol Che.
E. Chu. Masashi Nakao. Ritvik Agarwal. Manarbek Tolu. Abdul Malik Shinawi. Matthew Emery.
Let's give a round of applause to the Master of Urban Planning graduates. Dean Goldman, I now present to you the candidates for the Executive Master of Urban Planning degree.
Chriselle Pillay.
Chelsea Denlau.
Kari Matson.
Kevin Rogers.
Christy Isabel Gumera.
Carol Holman.
Daisy De La Rosa.
Sandra Espadas.
Nicholas Andrew Bennett.
Vincent Allen Ash Jr. Lisa Marie Flannery. Christian Renell Shook. Ulysses Hermosillo. Jason Acosta.
Let's give a round of applause to the Executive Master of Urban Planning graduates. Dean Goldman, I now present to you the candidates for the Master of Health Administration degree. Professor and Chair of the Department of Health Policy and Management, Jason Doctor, is joining Dean Goldman on the stage.
Kirat Ajula.
Lauren Bauer.
Burjot Kaur.
Emma Westbrook.
Atika Money.
Mackenzie French.
Asin Podiwala.
Christina Morgan Tom.
Emma Marie Fiddler.
Bijal Luhar.
Clark Edwards.
Anthony Kumba.
Sarah Barhuma.
Russell Chang.
Bryce Deckert.
Rita Kachumian.
Matthew Miwa.
Erica Nikoyan.
Ramneek Sandhu.
Tatiana Tarleen Abramian. AJ Singh Chauhan.
Sarah Lee Yelibayat. Andrew Jimenez.
Nicholas Park.
Fahima Gohil.
Brian Terrell. Farah Shagan. Kimia Jalali.
Lean Murad.
Marcel Asefi.
Daniela Alejandra Almada. Christina Pica Gonçalves.
Dalia Silva.
Ria Grace Sumitro.
Maisha Hassan.
Mario Urquides.
Justin James Stewart.
Arvik Ong. Nikhil Bajpai.
Alvin Zhao. Jessica Lee Flores. Nicholas J. Wong.
Emma Cruzenberry.
Allison Kwan.
Mandy Yang.
Julianne Rose Ong.
Lucy Yu. Nanor Topalakian.
Sierra Cradle. Ajit Galen.
Rashi Subramanya. Gordon Chan. Andrea Lara.
Douglas Frederick Wissenjack.
Emily Minette Banger Martinez.
Shayla Chandrika McPherson. Brenna Hill Hurry.
Erin Danae Burnett.
Nada Maldonado.
Nicole Ahanaga. Ahmed Mansour Al-Malki.
Patricia Emele.
Abdullah Nahari.
Robert Leon Bacon III. Samantha Jensen. Charvi Patak. Riley Birdcamp.
Ashley Pickford.
Matangi Deagarajan.
Josue Varela.
Candice Jinsun Kim.
Julia Ann Orozco. Ariel Brianna Dorch. Maria Yamat Navarro.
Karupaya Raja Karupan Chetty.
Oceana Hanner.
Sai Salmia Bodakunta.
Esther Song.
Let's give a round of applause to the Master of Health Administration graduates. Dean Goldman, I now present to you the candidates for the Executive Master of Health Administration degree.
Allison Wilcox Sakagami.
Kurosh Arthur Philip Moshiri. Nicole Kiefner.
Teresa Cho.
Robert Kennard.
Ian O'Donnell. Talal Saman. Tara L. Osborne. V. Song Tring.
Shayantani Chowdhury.
Cynthia Pascual Kalaikai. Anna Gonzalez.
Eileen Allegre.
Allison Victoria Navarro.
Samantha Newstatter.
Sarim Zafar. Edgar Munoz.
Rashad Sheikh.
Mirabai Shuldenko.
Amber Rickner.
Caroline Wynn.
Rosana Lopez. Feng Yu.
Chiwan Daniel Kang. Julie Washenik.
Manuel Gomez Maciel.
Stephanie Abrenica.
Herminia Corbett.
Broderick Leaks.
Aaron Victor Esparza.
Fallon Woods.
Nancy Macias. Chelsea Guevara.
Let's give a round of applause to the Executive Master of Health Administration graduates. Dean Goldman, I now present to you the candidates for the Master of Nonprofit Leadership and Management degree. Professor and Chair of the Department of Public Policy and Management, Yan Tang, is joining Dean Goldman on the stage.
Joshua Paul Duran.
Nadiatu Watts. Rachel Hyman.
Risha Bunton. Emma Elizabeth Rothschild. Roy E. Payan. Xiyue Cui.
Si Yi Liu. Ina Johannes Gupilan.
Xiaojin Li. Shilin Liu. Regina Rezex Navas. Fabian Primera.
Let's give a round of applause to the Master of Nonprofit Leadership and Management graduates. Dean Goldman, I now present to you the candidates for the Executive Master of Leadership degree.
Myra Bonilla. Christopher John Augustin Villaflor.
Amira T. Eppolito. Tiffany Felix. Narina Amroya.
Carlos Maddox.
Christopher Eddie C. Gilchrist. Cecilia Frausto. Hasha Selena Hawthorne. Whitney Warnes.
Leah Lane Mosteller.
Aaron Sigmund Armato.
Ronnie Renee Villanueva. Lisa Marie Gallegos.
Alejandro Vargas.
Let's give a round of
Matthew
applause to
Vang.
the Executive Master of Leadership graduates. Dean Goldman, I now present to you the candidates for the Master of Science in Public Policy Data Science degree. Associate Professor of Teaching and Program Director Mark Phillips is joining Dean Goldman on the stage.
Shuning Gao. Ling Yi Chen. Jiashuan Li. Jiajim Lua.
Jinghe Tian.
Matthew Vang.
Ijia Pan.
Stephanie Lian.
Let's give a round of applause to the Master of Science in Public Policy Data Science graduates.
Elizabeth Wen.
Dean Goldman, I now present to you the candidates for the Master of Public Policy degree.
Elizabeth Sally Stanfield.
Michaela Elizabeth Weiner.
Maria Fernanda Martinez Montesinos. Jocelyn Correa.
Tana Opliger. Diego Gabriel Mosquera.
Marlena Vanderlee. Hannah Jacqueline Franco. Isaac Pratyush Katan.
Kira Chan.
Samuel Raphael Roberts.
William Lawrence Edward Graswich. Zachary Esses Johnson.
Harold Nathan Aronson. Claire John.
Jacob Wong. Madison Christine Owens.
Muhammad Haider Salim. Leslie Alanis Escobar. Alex Patel. Aaron Sullivan.
Michael Bauer.
Emily Del Carmen Rosales.
Tatiana Overly. Yara Kamis.
Biina Darabidian. Tatum K. Williams.
Marshall Joy. Isabella Egure. Juliana Barton.
Kelsey Nana. Siyang Zhuo.
Nikki Ramsey. Meng Han Xin.
Jared Glenn Bethia. Jun Xiao Guo.
Courtney King. Elias N. Segali.
Norit Admasu.
Beja Du.
Nancy Ohaya.
Yifei Chen. Mary Louisa Banks.
Jalen Woods McGuire.
Katrina Gakusan Manrique.
Sylvia Carolina Mendez Ortiz.
Kellyanne Moffa. Andrew Justin Yam.
Anna Singer.
Matthew Liddell Vaughn.
Jaehyun Choi.
Lauren Sidney McGarry. Alyssa Durbin Tong.
Denton A. Cohen.
Cairo Lawrence.
Lucille Elizabeth Warren.
Selena Vasquez.
Let's give a round of applause to the Master of Public Policy graduates. Dean Goldman, I now present to you the candidates for the Master of International Public Policy and Management degree. Associate Professor of Teaching and Program Director Reem Kaki is joining Dean Goldman on the stage.
Clark Hong Sen Shu.
Ajil Wibowo.
Preet Patel.
Ari Dwi Susanto. Akilbek Madi Akilbekala.
Andika Soputra. Joyce Ting Hwan Ho. Aaron Kim. Derek T.
Ilyas Kabdulin.
Xiao Yu Chan. Arlem Kapina Zainatulevna. Ting Yun Jiang.
Hong Shu.
Gul Jian.
Sajue Su.
Jalel Kabilbe. Juan Li. Ronald R. Fox.
Xiaohan Mei. Baruch Asfal.
Yue Luo.
Zihan Zhang. Phoebe Yang.
Yimeng Gao. Yan Chan Yu. Yexin Li. Wan Gu.
Song Gyu Ha.
Du Sun Mo. Sun Gil Park.
Melissa Frost.
Huanzhou Park. Jae-eun Lee.
Hyun-sung Kim. Boyun Ha. Minho Park. Lian Liu. So Myung Lu. Yi-Yang Lee. Shihui Wang.
Let's give a round of applause to the Master of International Public Policy and Management graduates. Dean Goldman, I now present to you the candidates for the Master of Public Administration degree.
Veronica Frazier.
Maria de Jesus Lopez.
Chanel Sassoon. Jennifer Criso Lopez Pinheiro. Juanita L. Watson.
Adrian Fajardo. Lainey Rose Miller.
Grace Francis Nelson.
Andrew Davidoff. Eric Martinez. Lindsay Victoria Squirewell.
Helen Elena Chavez. Maya Sanjana Prasad.
Miki Daniel.
Jeremy Chang. Alexandra Healy.
Sarah Frances Gamaza.
Amy Leith Hine. Nicholas Evans. Jasmine Noel Lewis.
Lucas Evanson.
Anissa Grayson. Caitlin Jeffrey.
Taylor Joseph Nevels. Jessica Zambrano.
E. Jermaine Prince Jr. Louis Laredo.
Janae Fox.
Maya Francis De La Rosa. Kanisha Fortner.
Stephanie Flores. Tucker Wentz.
Ariel Rubin. Kelly Keiko Nuipe.
Sara Carolina Grijalva.
Ayana Marissa Jackson. Paul Lee.
Laura Jackson. Melissa Vargas. Michi Thomasina Slaughter.
Jordan Christine Sanders. Ann Talavera. Angel Kui. Michaela Rogers. John James Burgess. Brianne Pesqueda.
Becky Schlickerman.
Samantha Acevedo.
Delaney McMillan.
Betty Martinez Franco.
Leah Jones Carabo-Kiris.
Melissa Estor. Nancy Teresa Ramos.
Jessica Friedman.
Liz Reyes Aguirre.
Anna Will Riley.
Natalie Madrigal. Maha Rizvi.
Boram Lee.
Yvette Watts.
Kuho Khan.
Arthur Joseph Flores.
E. Swan. Yeching Lee. Estefan Andres Hinojosa. Rial Shine. Luis Alberto MacArthur.
Yi Jia Fu.
James Colin Fabinian.
Yidi Gan.
Nicholas Carmona.
Helene Zhou.
Ryan Fong.
Sama Hanif.
Ruth Steinway McCormick.
Devin Elise Hemrick Bowman.
Anna Deneke.
Aurelio Aleman V.
Emily LaSalle.
Joshua Menchaca. Alexis Akiko Motonaga. Yanjian Wang. Lily Lauder.
Lucas Hani.
Melanie Nicole Francischini.
Kevin Bautista.
Giselle Stephanie Delgado.
Jiaxing Bao.
Arda Chalkian. Everett Allen Cordova. Ayush Patel. Jacqueline Cortez.
Tiana De La Paz. Danica Fuentes Lum. Helen Katrina Reyes. Darielle Fair. Patricia Martin Del Campo.
Anne Shirley Larson. Virginia Marie Mercado. Kishana Wiley.
Kevin Xavier O'Connor.
Gev Chimaya.
Brian Jacob Bravo. Ozzy Ramos. Luis Alberto Fernandez. Kimberly Sotomayor. Amisadayi Licea. William Kong.
Luz Estela Torres. Catherine Shang. Talene Nazarian.
M. Steen. Heather Jiahue Miao.
Dehui Zhu. Lillian Chow. Christian Burks. Lanmeng Ni.
Maxwell Brosina Villa.
Yijia Kang.
Samuel Blunt.
Carla Gomez.
Thomas Wilson Grogan. Cassandra Y. Godinez.
Curtis Litto.
Christopher Garrido. Nicholas Marcone. Emily Graham. Jingying Zhu.
Kaylee Elizabeth Lloyd.
Rong Gao.
Aisha Alima Kareem Mayaguedia.
Jiyuan Zhang.
Alexander Guillermo de Leon.
Leonard J. Slutsky. Talim Rumaya.
Ahmed Mansour Al-Maliki.
Tamar Stevens.
Abdullah Mashal Nahari.
Ke Zhang.
Genevieve Shepard Martinez. Hannah Callis Taylor. Kimberly Moss. Aubrey Megan Golding.
Carmen Cuevas. Chen Xin Zhang. Sophie Sargisian.
Sydney Leonce Turnbull. Michael Neward.
Maricela Rodriguez.
Danielle Ramirez.
Roderick Shakurian.
Lucy Hall.
May Coleman. Cara Angelini.
Jenny Yvonne Rodriguez. Ana Isabel Moran.
Erica Ann Panado.
Crystal Cheng. Catherine Chan Gabara.
Nicole Sutter.
Mohammed Ahmed Khan.
Ryan Tyler. Crystal Garcia. Mark Michael Newberry.
Rania Ahmed Othman. Robin Louise Strain. Angelina Kaur Sani.
Ebony Michelle Shaw.
Monica Yamaremye.
Priscilla Hung.
Kyle Maki.
Bruce Brackett. Jared Marquez Barnett. Wade Span.
Let's give a round of applause to the Master of Public Administration graduates. Dean Goldman, I now present to you the candidates for the Bachelor of Science in Urban Studies and Planning degree. Professor and Chair of the Department of Urban Planning and Spatial Analysis, David Sloan, is rejoining Dean Goldman on the stage.
Phoebe Andrea Cook. Celia Irene Escobar. Jacob Michael Rivera. Daniel Perez. Baron Jew.
Isaiah Townsend.
Carolyn Coe.
Derek Chang.
Megan Weller.
Yun Soo Choi.
Corey Thomas Riley. Daniel Parhezy.
Let's give a round of applause to the Bachelor of Science in Urban Studies and Planning graduates. Dean Goldman, I now present to you the candidates for the Bachelor of Science in Public Policy degree. Professor of Teaching and Program Director Grace Bong is joining Dean Goldman on the stage.
Vanessa Nguyen.
Rihanna Rios.
Carol Joe. Shelby Hansen.
Gabriel Grunspan.
Jenna Ogawa.
Melissa Gonzalez.
Kendall Damon.
David Atash. Matthew Justin Kempfer.
Grace Lee Cortese. Stephanie Portillo.
Tessa Farrell. Jonathan Antonio. Kavita Rai. Joseph Kim. Grace Amoafo. Nicolette Miley Brewer.
Adenika Falade.
Skylar Amelia Kretz. Rihanna Fickrey. Elise Wimberly. Benji Mitchell.
Nayeli Camacho.
Antonio Okeke.
Ashley Hammond.
Maria Garcia Sanchez. Aratzi Portillo.
Kevin Paul. Mary Averett Cull.
Christian Burks. Katie Lee. Lori Jean Udes.
Marcus Masaru Urata.
Let's give a round of applause to the Bachelor of Science in Public Policy graduates. Dean Goldman, I now present to you the candidates for the Bachelor of Science in Real Estate Development degree. Professor and Chair of the Wilbur H. Smith III. Crane is rejoining Dean Goldman on the stage.
Benjamin Ian Schloss. Janelle Cubier.
Robert Jonathan Compion.
Wendy Sang.
Joel Andrew Scarborough.
Anthony Joseph Kajagli. Adam Brian Flood. Hyde Gerard Muxian.
Andrew James Arth. Cameron Ghaznavi. Connor Byers. William Stoll.
Reddy Kurokawa.
Toby Kamish.
Braden Michael Perouse Berenson. Corbett Sikora Kerr.
Lee Barker Chandler.
Andrew Michael Defendus. Jeffrey Eldridge Hall. Benjamin Presley Miller.
Pedro Velasco. Christian Smith. Joseph Dahan.
McKeon Farnell. Nicholas Reed Shapiro. Elon Cooper.
Jonathan Golbari.
Brian Coleman Little.
Ethan Gobari. Samuel Spicer.
Kabir Singh Grover. Joshua Y. Lee.
Clayton Jonathan Watson.
David Way Lee.
Jonathan Scott Bond.
Blake Stamato. Daniel Parheezi. Daniel Joseph Casey.
Charlene Malik Mayer.
Matthew Houston Samquist.
Joseph Vincent Gehring Ragsdale. Miles Bennett Millstone. Mary Sheen.
Ben Tener. Jenna Marks. Moore Rublovich.
Kennedy L. Templeton. Antonia Josipa Ashby. Lauren Adut. Daniel Joseph White III. Kyle Panarelli.
James Babbitt Nugent.
Kobe Yerushalmi. Justin Valdez Golden.
Safal Mengi.
Justin Zakaria. Jason Vaughn.
Davina Maccabee. Amir Afifi.
Julia Michael Goodson.
Joseph Maddie Hebish.
Savannah Stalker. Edward Berrien Yan IV.
Maximilian Gamberg.
Austin Anthony Entosi.
Trent Morgan. Nathan Jaewon Yu.
Andrew Joseph D'Ambrosio.
Scott Benjamin Harris. Donovan Econ. Jessica Pham. Alpha Ibrahim Diallo.
Milena Reiser. Hudson Carter. Sam Brimberg. Adam Jew.
Jack Brian Engstrom. Bayan Sedigian.
Matthew Mitchell.
Adam Lacroix.
Cyrus Connor Fisher.
Gracie Hopi Bunsuk. Kamto Lee. Maxwell III Williams. Patrick Shannon. Taylor Katoa.
Sean Thomas Mahoney. Clayton Michael Owens. Aaron Arash Baharvar.
Cristina Isabel Sosa Lindo.
Stephen Cabas. Yasmin Akhtar. Will Rose. J. Nicholas Zappia. Aliona Lauren Herbert. Shannon Akax.
Ashley Deming McCorkle.
Gabrielle Summer Kim. Eleanor Lee Conway.
Let's give a round of applause to the Bachelor of Science in Real Estate Development graduates. Dean Goldman will now return to the podium.
I want to congratulate all our graduates, including the ones that still linger. Now, will everyone please stand? To the faculty and staff, parents, relatives, and friends, I proudly present to you the USC Saul Price School of Public Policy Class of 2023. Undergraduates, you may now move your tassels to the left side. Our graduate students will continue to wear their tassels on the left side, thereby signifying they've already earned their bachelor's. Congratulations to all of you. I'll know you will make the USC Price School proud. Please be seated for the recessional and then join us for a reception on the McClintock lawn. That's somewhere on campus. And there'll be people outside you can ask that are better informed than I am. Take care and fight on.